Walters is the spot again for Florida State football. Opener is a big one, Saturday, August 30th at 3:30 against Alabama. Walters has plenty of TVs, both inside and outside, located across the street from the ballpark.
A massage chair might seem a bit extravagant, especially these days. 8 different settings, adjustable intensity, plus it's heated, and it just feels so good. Yes, a massage chair might seem a bit extravagant, but when it can come with a car, suddenly it seems quite practical. The all-new 2025 Volkswagen Tiguan, packed with premium features like available massaging front seats, it only feels extravagant.
Duran from the stretch. Kicks, delivers, swinging a line drive into left field, a base hit. Cruz around third's going to try and score. Here comes the throw to the plate. He is safe as the ball gets away from Realmuto, and Lile around second will hold right there. A base hit to left. They run on Marsh, who had moved from center to left, and his throw a little bit offline, and Cruz coming in to score. And the ball got away from Realmuto, trying to catch it and get a tag on Cruz. He could not. In fact, the ball hit Dylan Cruz. Nationals 4, Phillies 4. Runner breaks for third. Pitch outside. The throw down goes into left field. Lyle on his feet. He comes in to score. And the Nationals have the lead 5-4. Daylen Lile stealing third. And Realmuto's throw to Bohm trying to get there goes into left field. And the Nationals have regained the lead here in the 9th inning. Unbelievable.
And welcome to Nats Chat, along with MASNsports.com Nationals insider Mark Zuckerman, who was at Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. The Nationals now are 5-3 over the first 8 games of a 13-game stretch against the National League East leading Philadelphia Phillies, the New York Mets, and the New York Yankees. Friday evening, a 5-4 win at the Phillies in Game 1 of a 3-game series. This was a game in which the Nats blew a 3-0 second-inning lead, but overcame a 4-3 ninth-inning deficit by scoring 2 runs in the top of the 9th off Phillies closer Jhoan Duran. The Nats in MLB's 2025 regular season improved to 53-75. That is the worst record in the NL East, the second worst record in the NL. But the Nats have won 3 consecutive games, now are 8-5 over the team's last 13 games. This installment of Nats Chat brought to us by Mason Kalfas, the top legal recruiter in Washington, D.C. Mason has been with us since our first season. You can reach him at 202-486-3535. You on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify can both rate this podcast and write reviews. 5-star ratings are very much appreciated. Positive reviews are very much appreciated. These things help us out a lot, and we thank you very much for doing them. Coming up later in the show, an update on the debut of shortstop Eli Willits with the Nats single-A affiliate, the Fredericksburg Nationals, from Zach Hamilton, a 3-time Emmy Award-winning sports producer and Fredericksburg resident. But regarding the big club, some clutch hits by the Nats on Friday evening. Another good outing by starting pitcher Cade Cavalli on Friday evening. More good work by the Nats bullpen on Friday evening, despite Jose A. Ferrer and Cole Henry both being unavailable due to each guy having pitched on each of the previous 2 days. Mark, the Nats are playing well right now, and they so far during this challenging 13-game stretch are doing quite well. This is good to see.
All right, Al, we don't do a lot of hot takes on this show. That's not really our style. We try to be more measured than that. I'm going to start this one off with a hot take, and I'll be interested in your reaction to it. Here it is. If Dylan Cruz had been healthy the entire season, and if they had a competent, not even a great, but just a competent bullpen, the Nationals may not be in contention right now, but they would be having a much, much better season that probably would have saved the fates of Mike Rizzo and Davey Martinez, a lot of other people who are going to fall as a result of that. Is that crazy of me to suggest that right now?
Crazy, no. I do think we have to be careful with this Dylan Cruz stat of the record being so good when he plays, because I think there's a lot that goes into that, and there's a lot that has gone wrong with this team this season. But I don't think it's nuts to say that the record would be a lot better had he stayed healthy and had the bullpen been, semi-competent. I think that's a perfectly acceptable way of looking at it. I just think that there are a lot of other things that have gone wrong for this team that are hard to ignore and you can't forget. And, I don't think this is a good team even with Cruz being healthy, but this is a better team with Cruz being healthy and with the bullpen being better.
So I actually agree with you, but I wanted to throw that one out there because the Dylan Cruz stat, the team now has a winning record when Dylan Cruz plays, 27-26. And we know how many games they've lost, especially the first half of the year, because of a completely incompetent bullpen, games that were totally there for the taking, and they just couldn't do it. There, of course, are all other kinds of factors involved in this. We know offensively the struggles, defensively the struggles, base running the struggles. But I'll tell you what, Dylan Cruz is making a difference. And there's something to it. I'm glad that he's out there, and I'm glad we're finally seeing what he brings to the table. And it's not necessarily showing up in big-time stats, but he has come through in some big spots. He brings energy. He makes plays, whether it's at the plate, in the field, on the bases. And I think it's infectious. And I am fascinated to see how this all goes from here and what kind of difference he truly can make for them, because I do think it's been a significant difference that he's made.
He had a high-level plate appearance in that 2-run ninth on Friday evening for sure, and the Nats offense came through in this game. 5 runs, 8 hits, 4 walks, 2 for 9 with runners in scoring position. The 8 hits, a homer, 2 doubles, and 5 singles. And yeah, the Nats in the top of the ninth got to Jhoan Duran. Daylen Lile had the hit that proved to be most crucial. He, in that 2-run ninth, had a one-out opposite field RBI single to left field to tie the game at 4. But also from Lile in that inning, him scoring on a throwing error by catcher JT Realmuto on an attempted steal of third base by Lile for a 5-4 Nats lead. So Lile tying the game up with the single and then scoring the go-ahead run via inducing an error with the speed. Lile in this game was the Nats starting designated hitter. Think about that. Does that not speak to how well he's been hitting? He is the Nats' number 7 batter, 2 for 2 with an RBI single and another single. Had that stolen base, did also get picked off at first base. But also in the 9th inning was that Dylan Cruz plate appearance. So Cruz in this game as the Nats starting right fielder and number 6 batter, 2 for 4 with a double and a single. How about what Cruz did? He in the 2-run ninth had a one-out opposite field double into right field on an 0-2 pitch. Luis Garcia Jr. had struck out. Cruz was a pitch away from striking out. Instead, he laces a double, and the rally is on. The Nats went from potentially having 2 outs and nobody on against Duran to Cruz being on second base, and all of a sudden, the complexion of that inning changed. And to your point, Dylan Cruz was the igniter.
It's not just an 0-2 pitch from Duran. It's an 0-2 102-mile-an-hour pitch, the fastball from him. Now, 5 days ago, Dylan Cruz faces Jhoan Duran in D.C. in the 9th inning, Sunday afternoon, the game that the Nats actually put forth a surprise rally in the 9th and forced Duran into the game. And Cruz comes up to face him, representing the tying run. And he battled him. 8-pitch battle. He finally grounded out on that 8th pitch. And he talked to us afterwards about it, about how much he enjoyed that situation, getting a chance to face maybe the best closer in the sport. And while he didn't come through in the spot, he felt like there was something to be gained from the experience. Now, I don't know if it made all the difference in the world, but facing him again 5 days later, he certainly had an idea what to expect. And he described for us in pretty good detail the combination of the fastball and the splitter, which, by the way, he throws a splitter like 97. That's the pitch that Lile hit right after him. But he spoke in pretty good detail about sitting on the fastball, adjusting to the other stuff, knowing where the pitch comes in and how it's going to move. It was a really advanced approach for him to describe to us. And again, this is from a rookie who has played something like 82 games in the big league so far. It's really impressive to come through in that spot like that. And let's also give him credit for the base running, and we're going to get to that on Lile as well. We've criticized this team for running into outs, and they ran into a couple outs getting picked off in this game, first base twice. And we've criticized Ricky Gutierrez for some way too aggressive sends. This one was an extremely aggressive send, but Cruz himself said he wasn't even really thinking about what Gutierrez was going to do. Off the bat, he's thinking, I'm going to score. And that was his mindset all along, and he did. I like the mindset. Make the coach hold you up, and if he doesn't, you keep going, and there's never a hesitation at all. It was a great job by him to get the jump and a nice slide to avoid the tag and score the tying run.
it was such a mixed game for the Nats in terms of base running, right? Because you had Lyle getting picked off at first base. You had James Wood getting picked off at first base. And you're saying to yourself, like, come on, when is this ever going to stop? And yet the base running in that 2-run ninth was huge with what Cruz did and with what Daylen Lile did in basically forcing that throwing error by JT Realmuto. You know, not all errors are created equal. Some are entirely unforced by the offense. In this case, I almost feel like Lyle deserves credit for making Realmuto commit that error, and obviously it led to Lyle scoring.
100%. And Miguel Cairo was explaining that, you know, they had a bunch of runners in scoring position over the final innings of this game. Every time they got a guy on second, they were trying to signal to him, hey, keep an eye on this. You may have a chance to steal third. Clearly, the Phillies were not expecting it in the ninth. Duran was not expecting it. Realmuto was not expecting it. Lyle saw the signal. He actually said he saw a curveball grip from Duran on that pitch. So from second base, he was able to spot into the glove and knew it was a good pitch to run on. He ran, caught them completely off guard, forced the bad throw, like you said, and came around to score. And Lyle had the great quote about it. He said, you know, the crowd was booing him when he came up to bat that inning. And when he crossed the plate, it was silenced. And he had never experienced that before in the big leagues and really appreciated what that moment was like. This was a big moment, a big game for all these young players playing in this environment, full house, sellout crowd. The Duran show is legit. We saw it in Minnesota earlier in the year. It's even more so here. They turn down all the lights. Everybody turns on their cell phone cameras. He comes in the darkness. Probably the most imposing situation you're going to face in the big leagues right now. That guy pitching in the ninth inning, and these young Nationals stood right up to it and took him down. That was so impressive, and we don't know where it all goes from here, but you got to feel like that makes a difference in the long run when they can do something like that in that situation. That sits with you. You remember that down the road someday when you're playing in really meaningful games.
I have to say, I am a fan of these extravagant entrances for closers, and we've seen these in the NL East in recent seasons, right? Duran with the Phillies now, Edwin Diaz with the New York Mets. We need one for Jose A. Ferrer. We need to concoct something for Jose A. Ferrer. We need proper music. We need proper production. Okay, we got to get the pomp and circumstance right. But if Ferrer is legit, the Nats have an opportunity here to come up with something spectacular for his entrances into games at Nationals Park. So hopefully people already are working on that. But this Nats lineup for Friday evening, James Wood, Dylan Cruz, Daylen Lile, Brady House, Robert Hassel III, all in the lineup. It was so good to see that.
Hey, are you a law firm partner stuck on an underperforming team while the rest of the competitors are spending big and winning big? Well, you don't have to stay on your 60-win team. Nats Chat sponsor Mason Kalfis and his team specialize in placing partners and associates at medium-sized and large law firms in Washington, D.C. and across the country. Staying at a firm too long is often a recipe for being underpaid. Explore your options today with Mason Kalfis. Call Mason today at 202-486-3535. That number again, 202-486-3535.
At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 350 plus programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
On Fox 1, you can stream your favorite news, sports, and entertainment live all in one app.
It's raw
and unfiltered.
This is the best thing ever.
Watch breaking news as it breaks.
Breaking tonight, we're following two major stories.
And catch history in the making. Debates, drama,
touchdown.
It's all here, baby. Fox 1, we live for live. Streaming now.
Nationals trying to break out on top in the first inning. Here's the set, 3-2 pitch, swung on, hit of the air to deep right center field. Marsh going back, way back to the warning track, at the wall, looking up, and it is gone. Goodbye. Bang, zoom goes Riley Adams with his 8th home run of the year. It is a first inning 3-run shot with Abrams and Bell on base to score in front of him. And the Nationals do break out on top early in the top of the first inning with a 3-run homer from Riley Adams and a cutter right over the middle of the plate. Nationals 3, the Phillies nothing.
And also in the lineup was Riley Adams as not just the Nats starting catcher, but the Nats cleanup batter. And you know, the way he's going, you didn't think twice about this. And sure enough, he homered in this game. Adams as the Nats starting catcher and cleanup batter, 1 for 4 with a 3-run homer. Kind of easy to forget that he did that because of everything else that happened in the game. But Adams and the Nats 3-run first, a 1-out, full count, opposite field, 3-run homer to right center for a 3-0 Nats lead despite having been down in the count at 1.12. The plate appearance of the game was by Dylan Cruz in that 2-run ninth. I think the second best plate appearance of this game from a Nats perspective was what Adams did. And Nats media relations earlier in the day put out this via X. Since June 10th, Riley Adams and Drew Millis rank among MLB catching tandems in batting average, first, 322. On base percentage, first, 391. Slugging percentage, second, 504. OPS, second, 895. We've been talking about this. The offensive production that the Nats are getting from the catcher position right now, from this timeshare of Riley Adams and Drew Millis, has been nothing short of stunning and has been wonderful. These guys are really coming through. I give them a ton of credit.
I knew it was better. I didn't know it was that much better until I saw those stats that the team put out. And wow, that is something. I'll tell you what Riley Adams has really done. We know he has the power stroke. We've seen that from him. But what he's done here lately is not just have to pull the ball. He's working good at bats. You saw on Thursday in the game against the Mets, another example of him just getting a base hit was the center field and right center field, I think, to drive in an important run in that game. He's doing that with a lot more regularity. He's drawing walks as well, something that he hadn't done. He went a long way this year before drawing his first walk. So there's a lot better plate approach. And you saw that in this at bat. It's 8 pitches. It's a huge moment in the first inning. Their first 3 batters have reached. And yet the first one, James Woods picked off. The second one, C.J. Abrams, was called out for a pickoff that they got overturned. Now you get another walk from Josh Bell, and here's Adams, and a ground ball and the inning's over. And instead, 8 pitches, stays on it, and drove the ball to right center field and showed that he has power to that part of the field as well. That's the maturation of Riley Adams. It's really been impressive to see. I don't know what they do moving forward at the catching position. I could see this going any of a number of ways. I'm not sure we really know what the right answer is, except to say, keep playing Adams and Millis as long as Ruiz is out. And maybe by the end of this season, you have a little clearer idea of what you have to work with. I don't know if any of them are truly number one catchers, but the production they've gotten from these two over now a pretty sustained stretch, the numbers don't lie. It has been significant, and it's been much appreciated by a team that has needed that kind of production.
Well, and I said this on the last installment of the podcast, whoever is running baseball ops beyond this season, there is only so much change that person can engineer in one offseason. Like, even if that person really doesn't like this roster all that much and wants to change a ton, you're still going to have to bring some people back. Like, it's not going to be entire wholesale change. And so maybe with catcher, you say, all right, why don't we see a little bit more of this and just kind of see where it takes us? You know, we know with catcher, and so many teams do this, you pretty equally divide up playing time. Like, it doesn't have to be that you have a clear number one and a clear number two in terms of like one guy being your catcher for 100 plus games. The way this is being done with Adams and Millis, to me, is a more natural way of doing catcher in today's MLB, where it is, if not an even split, then a more even split. With Cade Ruiz, we've talked about this. He catches a ton, and I've always felt like less might be more with him. For whatever reason, the Nats have never bought into that. I don't know if that's what's happening here, but you're seeing a pretty even distribution of playing time. You're seeing each guy come through. I look at catcher like running back in the NFL, with rare exception, right? NFL teams now, you don't have like one bell cow running back like you had back in the day. It's more like you have a bunch of different guys who end up accumulating carries over the course of a season. And I feel like with catcher, because it's such a grueling and demanding position, that's the best way to go these days. The offensive production really has been something, though, to see the Nats not just be better offensively, but to be elite offensively at the catcher position in recent weeks. There's not a person on the planet who anticipated that.
No, and I think The reasons why Ruiz played so much when he was healthy, I think there's two reasons. One is the contract, and you have to acknowledge that that's going to be the case. And if you were Davey Martinez at the time, you probably felt compelled to keep playing him that much at this stage of the process. But the second part of the equation, and it ties in with it, is that Riley Adams was not hitting. His batting average was below 100 at the time that Ruiz suffered the concussion the first time. And yes, you could say, well, playing more would have maybe gotten him going. But the fact remains that when he did play, he was not producing at all. And so it was hard to justify giving him more playing time as a result of that. So I understand the dilemma they were in, but I also understand that at some point you had to look at Ruiz and say, it's just not enough offensively or defensively from that position. There's no reason not to at least see what the other guy can do. And so now, because he's played more and gotten into a groove, it does create much more of a dilemma for whenever it happens, whether it's later this season or heading into next season, that Keibert Ruiz is ready to play again.
And that's one of the really odd things about all of this, right? And honestly, one of the uncomfortable things about all of this. If Keibert Ruiz is not in the midst of a second stint on the 7-day concussion injured list, we're not seeing this right now because he probably is still playing a ton, and we're not seeing Riley Adams and Drew Millas play a whole lot, and we're not seeing this kind of production taking place. I mentioned James Wood. Yes, he got picked off, but he also got on base 3 times. So Wood is the Nats starting left fielder and number 1 batter, 2 for 3 with a double, a single, and a walk. Some big offensive moments for the Nats in this game, without question. Also for the Nats in this 5-4 win at the Phillies on Friday evening was some very good pitching. Cade Cavalli, how would he do? He has been in the midst of this encouraging run since being promoted back to the majors. His last outing was a gem against the Phillies at Nationals Park last Saturday, August 16th. 7 scoreless innings, 5 strikeouts versus no walks. So here we had a second consecutive start for Cavalli against the Phillies, and this time at the sit. What would happen? Well, Cavalli was good again. He allowed 3 runs in 6 innings. He gave up 7 hits, which were a home run, a double, and 5 singles. He issued 2 walks and a hit by pitch. Some guys were on base. There's no doubt about that. He recorded 4 strikeouts. He again threw a lot of strikes, 95 pitches, 64 strikes, 31 balls. And it's important to understand how he arrived at 3 runs in 6 innings. He allowed 1 run in 5 2/3 innings, then gave up a 2-out, 2-run homer by Bryson Stott to right field to tie the game at 3. In the bottom of the 6th. That was unfortunate. I am not a fan of the quality start stat, 3 runs in 6 innings, but in this case, I do think 3 runs in 6 innings qualifies as a quality start by Cade Cavalli because I thought he overall was good again, and I think the encouragement with him continues with what he's doing here in his second stint at the major league level.
Yeah, the quality start technically is an objective stat. You have to meet certain criteria for it. If you looked at it instead as a subjective stat, how did it look? How did it feel to you? This absolutely was a quality start. And arguably, he's now had 4 of them since coming up. And it's that one last pitch to Bryson Stott. It's a fastball they left up and over the plate. He acknowledged it. It was a mistake. He paid the price for it.
Wasn't happy that I left it middle. He did what he was supposed to do with it. It was my mistake.
But really what he did up to that point and what he's now done for the majority of these 4 starts that he's made has been incredibly impressive. I mean, he's 1 pitch away from having gone 13 innings against the Phillies in the span of 6 days, giving up 1 run to that lineup. That is elite stuff right there. And he is showing that it doesn't necessarily have to be dominance 1, 2, 3. He can deal with traffic on the bases. That's not an easy thing to deal with. And he is showing that he can do that, both with the ability to get the swing and miss, as he did, but also to induce some weak contact. He got a double play grounder, or very close to a spectacular double play grounder that Garcia and Abrams almost turned in the second inning. That's how they scored the 1 run on that. And it was a split second away from him getting out of that one. He made some big pitches against some really good hitters and had to do it against the same lineup now twice in 6 days. That's always a test for any pitcher, let alone a young guy who's making his 5th career big league start. So there is so much to like about him. And when you look back on this game as such an impressive win for them, it's because of the young guys and young core guys who made a difference. And Cade Cavalli is right there with Dylan Cruz and Daylen Lile in that category. He was a huge part of this win. And it makes it all the sweeter because he was the guy on the mound for the majority of this game.
This reminded me a little bit of his outing at Kansas City, a 7-4 loss at the Royals on August 11th. Cavalli's final line in that game, 4 runs in 5 innings, but he allowed 2 runs in 5 innings, and then in the bottom of the 6th, faced 3 batters, got no outs, including giving up a 2-run homer by Salvador Perez. So it's like, okay, the final line does matter, and you can't just erase the bad things that happened, even if they happened later in the outing. But I do think that there's context and nuance to this stuff, and like that outing of 4 runs in 5 innings really wasn't that bad. This outing of 3 runs in 6 innings was quite good. And so, like you said, I think you feel good about really all of these outings so far for Cade Cavalli since he got recalled from AAA Rochester on August 6th.
Yeah, I think if the only thing you're really criticizing him for, or the only real knock on him through these 4 starts, is that he's made 1 bad pitch right at the end of 2 of them and paid the price for it. You can live with that with a rookie because you're going to learn how to finish these things as you gain more experience. So I would much rather have that be the biggest issue, a couple of late home runs as he gets up over the 90 pitch mark, than first inning struggles, than him with huge walk totals, high pitch counts. We have not seen that from him. This is a much more polished, complete picture that we're seeing from him on the mound. So I can live with, and I think the Nats can live with, a couple of mistake pitches right at the end of these outings. And the hope would be with more experience, he learns how to get through those last 10 to 15 pitches and turn those, still quality starts into really good starts.
Save big during Labor Day at Lowe's. Get up to 40% off select major appliances. Plus, buy more to get up to an additional 20% off. Shop even more savings with 3 Stay Green 1 cubic foot vegetable and flower garden soil bags for $10. This Labor Day, take care of your home for less at Lowe's. We help, you save. Valid through 9/3. Soil offer excludes Alaska and Hawaii. Selection varies by location. Select locations only. While supplies last. See Lowe's.com for more details.
Are you ready to get spicy?
These Doritos Golden Sriracha aren't that spicy.
Sriracha? Sounds pretty spicy to me.
A little spicy, but also tangy and sweet.
Maybe it's time to turn up the heat.
Or turn it down. It's time for something that's not too spicy. Try Doritos Golden Sriracha.
Spicy.
But not too spicy.
Here is the National League home run leader, the Major League RBI leader, Kyle Schwarber. 0 for 2, 2 walks tonight. P.J. Poulin ready. Here's his pitch. Breaking ball. Line to right field. Cruz is right there. He makes the catch. And a Curly W's in the books. P.J. Poulin 6 up, 6 down over 2 innings. And he retires Kyle Schwarber on a liner to right center to end it. And the Nationals come back with 2 in the top of the 9th inning. Started by the Dylan Cruz double. The Daylen Lile RBI single. And took second on the throw and eventually scored with a stolen base and a throwing error on the catcher, and the Nationals taking the lead and on the field to celebrate a victory here in Game 1 of this series in Philadelphia. Unbelievable. A Curly W in the books. The final score, the Nationals 5, the Phillies 4.
So how about your Nationals bullpen? Very good work in the Nats winning 2 out of 3 games against the New York Mets this past Tuesday through Thursday. And you could argue exceptional work in this win at the Phillies on Friday evening, considering who was pitching and who was not available. 3 Nats relievers combined to allow 1 run in 3 innings. Those 3 relievers, Shinosuke Ogasawara, Jackson Rutledge, and P.J. Poulin. Ogasawara allowed a run in 2/3 of an inning. He, in the bottom of the 7th, had a rather odd outing. He generated back-to-back swinging strikeouts of the Phillies' numbers 2 and 3 batters, and ex-Nats Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper. So you said, wow, Ogasawara is on his way to having a tremendous outing, but he did then give up a homer. A 2-out full-count solo shot by JT Realmuto to left field. The homer went a projected 421 feet per StatCast. But still, Ogasawara does continue to get some big outs. Jackson Rutledge then got a big out. He only faced 1 batter, but he got the out. What was a swinging strikeout of Alec Boehm to end that bottom of the 7th inning. And then P.J. Poulin, 2 perfect innings with 3 swinging strikeouts. Wow. Was that a shocker? Jose A. Ferrer and Cole Henry, each guy had pitched on each of the previous 2 days. And so Miguel Cairo entrusted P.J. Poulin to close out this game. Poulin was perfect. He pounded the zone, 22 pitches, 16 strikes, just 6 balls. You know, it's one thing for Ferrer to be excelling as he is. That's surprising enough. For Poulin to do as he did, and, you know, Poulin has pitched a lot lately. It's not like Poulin, you know, is supremely well rested. For him to do that in this game, I give him a ton of credit. What a performance.
So this is the downside of going on a 3-game winning streak, is that you have to find somebody else to close because you already won a couple of close games with your best guys the previous 2 days. And maybe deep down, Miguel Cairo's thinking, well, this is probably not going to be our night. But they find themselves in that spot. And what I found fascinating was Poulin gets the 1-2-3-8. They're trailing 4-3 at the time. He comes back to the dugout, and Cairo says to him, hey, you're going back out there for the 9th. So it wasn't like, oh my God, I have to do this. He knew all along as the rally is taking place that it's going to be on his shoulders now to close this out. And he relished that moment. This is a remarkable story. For those who don't remember, didn't hear about it at the time. This is a 29-year-old who had never been in the big leagues before. He's in the Tigers organization, gets put on the 40-man roster, but then dropped from it after the trade deadline. Why? Because the Tigers made a bunch of moves to try to bolster their big league roster, including the trade for Kyle Finnegan. So Poulin is the victim of that roster crunch, gets designated for assignment. The Nationals swoop in, claim him off waivers, and he's thinking, well, I'm probably going to Rochester. And instead, they call him up to the big leagues. And now 3 weeks later, he's made 10 appearances and has a 1.80 ERA and was on the mound for the final out of a 1-run win in front of a sellout crowd at Citizens Bank Park. He acknowledged he never in his wildest dreams 3 weeks ago could have envisioned he'd be in this situation. But good for him for getting the opportunity and making the most of it. And what's the underrated part about this run that they're on right now is that the bullpen, and specifically the left-handers in their bullpen, are coming through and getting big outs against some of the toughest left-handed hitters in baseball. Ogasawara has now faced Schwarber and Harper 5 times in the last week, and they're 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts on double play against him. Yes, he gave up the homer to Realmuto, the right-handed hitter. In the old world, you'd let him face the 2 lefties and get him out of there. Unfortunately, 3-batter minimum. He had to face him. It didn't work out. But he also faced Soto and Lindor with the Mets the other day. I don't know if this is going to work in the long run, but for a guy who looked like a lost cause when we saw him in spring training and those couple of starts he made earlier this summer, this may actually turn out to be something. They may have found something in Shinosuke Ogasawara.
I mentioned the Nats being 5-3 during this 13-game stretch against the Phillies, Mets, and Yankees. You could argue the biggest strength for the Nats during this 5-3 run has been the bullpen, not the starting pitching. You know, the Nats won that game against the Mets the other day despite Mackenzie Gore struggling. The offense has done some good things, so there's a case to be made for the offense, but there very much is a case to be made for the bullpen. The bullpen was good in 2 out of the 4 games in the 4-game split with the Phillies. The bullpen was good in 2, you could argue all 3 games against the Mets. I mean, the overall body of work by the pen in that series was very good. And the bullpen in this win at the Phillies on Friday evening was good. So there has been, lately anyway, a consistency with this bullpen. And it's not just like 1 or 2 guys. A multitude of relievers are coming through here. You feel good right now about multiple Nats relievers. Imagine saying that back in April and May. You would have been dismissed as crazy. Right now, though, that is the truth.
It's 100% the truth. And that's why I want to mention the guy who we've kind of taken a task a little bit here, but he came up big in this game. It was only 1 batter he faced. Jackson Rutledge came in after Ogasawara gave up the home run, had to face Alec Boehm in what's now a 1-run game that they're trailing, struck him out, got out of the inning, didn't let it get any worse. And then he was replaced by Poulin for the 8th, but that was an important out, a big strikeout of a good hitter. So good for Jackson Rutledge. On a night when they needed some different guys to come through, he was a part of the equation.
Okay, so the Nats win Game 1 of this series. Games 2 and 3 of this series will be started by 2 Nats pitchers who are reeling right now. Mitchell Parker for Game 2 Saturday evening at 6:05. Jake Irvin for Game 3 Sunday afternoon at 1:35. Incidentally, if things hold up as we expect them to, the Nats' 3 best starting pitchers will be pitching in the 3-game series at the Yankees this Monday through Wednesday. Brad Lord, Mackenzie Gore, Cade Cavalli. That'll be interesting, those 3 guys at Yankee Stadium. But yeah, Parker and Irvin over these next two games. It has been rough to watch. These guys need to get right. This obviously is not an ideal opponent, nor is this an ideal venue. We'll see, right? But there are a lot of good things happening for the Nats right now. It would be nice to add some more good things in the way of Parker and Irvin getting back to being what they have been, which is at times pretty good.
I agree. And if you're them and if you're the Nationals right now, you're just saying, just give us a chance. Keep us in the game. You don't have to be great, but give us 5 innings and only a handful of runs and give us a chance to try to ride this wave that we're on right now, offensively and bullpen-wise, to maybe come away with a series win by winning at least one of these 2 games. They got to get through the first inning. We know how much of a problem that's been. They got to finish strong. Honestly, they need confidence in themselves right now. I don't know if either of these guys is feeling good about themselves at the moment. But I think what they have to view this as is this. We discussed it after, I think, each of their last 2 starts. There's nobody waiting in the wings to take their jobs. They're going to get to keep going out there probably for the rest of the season, certainly several more times. So take that mindset as, hey, I got nothing to lose. Let me go out there and give everything I've got. Don't worry about what's going to happen to me if I give this up or give that up or we lose the game. Pitch the way you know you have before and had success at this level and hope for the best. And we'll see. I can't say I'm real optimistic about their chances, but stranger things have happened. We know both these guys have been successful big league pitchers at various points over the last couple of years. Maybe the play of their teammates here can inspire them to come out and do a little bit better. It would be a great thing to see. As I said, I don't even care if they're not great. Just give them a chance. Don't blow it up. Give them a chance to win the game late.
Good things are happening for the Nats right now. It's nice to say that. You, as a Nats fan, deserve to hear that. It has been a rough season, so nice to see the team playing better. Hit us up on X at Nats_chat. Hit us up on Blue Sky at Nats Chat Podcast. You can email us, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. We have a website you could check out too, natschatpodcast.com, at which you can purchase a Nats Chat Podcast t-shirt. This installment of Nats Chat brought to us by Mason Kalfas, the top legal recruiter in Washington, D.C. Mason has been with us since our first season. You can reach him at 202-486-3535. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat are courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. For Mark Zuckerman, I'm Al Galdi. We thank you for listening. We'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat podcast, and we leave you now with this report on the debut of the man who the Nats took with the number 1 overall pick in the 2025 MLB Draft, shortstop Eli Willits with the Nats single-A affiliate, the Fredericksburg Nationals. This report comes to us courtesy of Zach Hamilton, a 3-time Emmy Award-winning sports producer and a resident of Fredericksburg. Enjoy.
And now, that's a spear at first by Dode. Willits can fly and he's safe. Wow. You're looking for tools, are ya? The man at first has them all, and he's got a 3-hit game in his professional debut.
It was a beautiful night for baseball down in Fredericksburg as first overall pick Eli Willits made his professional debut, batting 7th and playing shortstop for the FredNats as they hosted the Fayetteville Woodpeckers. Willits would go on to go 3 for 4 with 2 RBIs, a run scored, a walk, and a stolen base in his professional debut. He was able to put the ball in play every at-bat except for the walk, and he was able to show great contact throughout the night and defensively looked very sharp out at short. One thing that'll come are the young mistakes, taking a single, trying to stretch it into a double, but those are things that Nationals fans are going to have to be able to live with as he continues to grow. But one thing that really stood out to everyone watching the game in attendance at Virginia Credit Union Stadium was the head on his shoulders, the baseball knowledge. He was giving a bunch of relays to Christian Vaquero and Kevin Bazell, a couple of the veterans on the FredNats, really telling them what he's seeing at the plate. And for a guy making his professional debut, to have the confidence to share that information with teammates is really telling. Good start for Eli Willits as he continues on with the FredNats, and we'll see what the season has in store.
And that's a lob shot. It's down for another hit and another RBI for Willits. Cox goes to third. He's safe. Eli safe into second. What a debut for number 1 overall.